Okay, good morning and welcome to the Newark Public Library and this public event for special invited guests announcing the public launch of the Fresh Start at Your Library initiative. This is a very positive program, but we must place it in the light and in the context of where we are in the country today. The United States still has the highest incarceration rate in the world. Only Russia is in the same league in the order of magnitude with the US. New Jersey's rate of incarceration is a little bit lower than the national average, but not so much congratulations there, because in New Jersey, African Americans are 12 times more likely and Latinos are 6 times more likely than whites to be incarcerated. New Jersey, unfortunately, has the highest racial disparity in state prisons in the nation. There's a large national movement going on to do something about criminal justice reform. There has been work on sentencing, revisions of laws, bail modifications, efforts to improve incarceration from an environment of isolation and punishment to one of reform, rehabilitation, and assistance, but we still have a long way to go. Part of the national effort is in restoring voting rights for convicted felons. We have a major victory here in New Jersey, movement forward in that. And finally, we still have some work to do on our juvenile justice reform in trying to move away from distant, large reformatory facilities to smaller, in-community group homes where children remain linked to the communities in which they live and are not pulled apart from families and neighborhoods. So this is a positive event, but it's in the context of a difficult time. It's one of our few really good positives. So the Fresh Start program will be helping returning citizens find jobs, acquire stable housing, and complete other essential tasks, such as getting a driver's license, a photo ID, using a computer, what's the internet, getting a cell phone, how does it work? How does modern society work? What are all these things about? These are some of the things that we can help people with. This program is notable in that it's a federal, state, and local cooperative project. The Institute of Museum and Library Services, a federal agency, has provided the funding for this project. The New Jersey State Library applied for these funds and provides the overall coordination for all of the sites that are participating in the state. And 6 local public libraries are the sites where the actual Fresh Start programs are taking place. Most of the activities of the Fresh Start program are not new for the Newark Public Library. We and many other libraries have been unofficially and formally welcoming back returning citizens. They've been using the library. We've been assisting them for years. But now we have a public acknowledgement of our need to do something to help these citizens who are returning to re-engage them with the community, reconnecting and support for returning citizens in and with their communities. Now we have more information, support, knowledge, and linkage between various parts of this process. The project leaders here at the Newark Public Library are Leslie Kahn, where's Leslie? Right over there, who's our Chief Librarian for Adult Services, who coordinates the information function that librarians do so well. We gather and organize information, and we're ready to provide it to all of our citizens, including our returning citizens. The other key leader of our project is Jessica Campbell, right over there, the Newark Public Library's first full-time social worker, who will provide assistance with more complex personal problems and issues related to the program that move beyond the level of information that librarians provide. We've had social work interns here for several years in a pilot program, but this is the first time that we've had a full-time social worker, and there are additional part-time social workers in the locations throughout the state that are participating in this project, some in North, some in Central, some in South Jersey. Our key partners in this program are the New Jersey State Library, represented today by Peggy Cadigan, Deputy State Librarian, by John D. Harrell, who will be speaking later, who is the project director at the State Library. Working with the New Jersey State Parole Board, represented today by David Wolfsgruber, right there. And our third key partner is the Department of Labor and Workforce Development. I'm not aware that anybody's here today from the agency, but they are key to it. I want to acknowledge some of our attendees today: former Governor Jim McGreevey, Kasim Gomez from Senator Mendez's office, Caitlin McGinnis from Senator Booker's office, Deputy Mayor Rahman Mohammed representing Mayor Baraka, Assemblywoman Cleopatra Tucker representing part of Newark in our assembly, Councilwoman LaMonica McIver, who is the representative for the Central Ward where this building is located. She's our local councilperson. Jeanette Seabrooks from State Senator Ronald Rice's office. Council Member at Large Eddie Osborne. And Lauren Wells, President of the Newark Public Library Board of Trustees. So now to give a little more information on the program and the background, I'd like to ask John D. Harrell, the project leader for the overall state project from the New Jersey State Library, to come forward and give us a few words.
Good morning. 3.5 years ago, I received an email from a woman that I didn't know, inviting me to a town I'd never heard of, to discuss an idea that I wasn't sure was possible. Their idea was to embed social workers into libraries. But the more I thought about it, the more I liked the idea. Because in my life as a formerly incarcerated person, I had been a librarian. And inside of each prison, the library is the intellectual center of the prison. It's where men and women go when they want to change their lives, to gain knowledge and wisdom, and also to fight their cases. So the more I thought of it, I believe that embedding social workers in libraries would be attractive to returning citizens because we're used to going to the library. A library is a safe place. A library is a place that contributed to the change that we made in our lives. So I came and I met Peggy and also Tanya Garcia, who ran the Long Branch Library, where the idea originated. Tanya is very open to saying that her own family had incarceration. And as they came home, it was very difficult for them to move forward. So she had the idea of giving services to returning citizens, and she called it the Fresh Start program. Years later, when she and Peggy collaborated and they applied for this grant, they invited 115 people in for the position of program manager, and I was very pleased to be chosen. I was especially pleased because so rarely does a major organization tap the life experiences and the skills of a formerly incarcerated person. What we are trying to create here in Fresh Start at Your Library is a holistic way of looking at reentry and transition that involves the family, because the family is the foundation of the community. When you create a support system for formerly incarcerated people, using the family as the base, and then you look out in the community at all the organizations that are doing this work and draw them together and make their services available to formerly incarcerated people, you are building a powerful vehicle for change. And that's what Fresh Starts wants to be. A fresh start for men and women who have decided to change their lives, who no longer want to eat in cafeterias, work out in the rec yard, or hold their loved ones in a visiting room. As formerly incarcerated people, we want to rejoin society and become productive citizens. Fresh Start at Your Library can be the vehicle for that. I thank all of you for coming out, all of the politicians who we have talked to and who are continuing to express their support. This pilot program, which exists in 6 counties, it's in Patterson, Newark, Long Branch, Trenton, Cumberland County, and Atlantic City, can be the genesis of a new idea in reentry, where everyone in the county comes together. Reentry organizations, service organizations, nonprofits, religious organizations, and truly render the services that are needed for formerly incarcerated people to not only change their lives, but to be productive citizens, raise our children, contribute to our community, and truly change our lives. Thank you so much for this opportunity to be a part of this program and watch us grow and watch the impact that we're going to have on the state of New Jersey. Thank you so much.
Thank you, John D. I note that Mildred Crump, our Newark City Council president, has just arrived, so we recognize her presence. Thank you for coming, Mildred. One omission in my opening remarks of the major services was in the area of education. So it's important for our returning citizens to pick up on their educational efforts, and we'll be providing major support for GED instruction for people who lack that entry level of recognition of their levels of accomplishment, and we'll be paying for the first 50 people to take the test. So there should be 50 people, and we're soliciting for classes and participation as we speak. Now I'd like to call one of our key partners in this effort. Instead of people arriving as they have been on their own for years, we'll now be working much more closely with the State Parole Board for returning citizens to be referred and directed to partake of this activity, and it should increase the level of participation. The number of citizens who are released from New Jersey Department of Corrections is over 9,000 a year. In Essex County, there seem to be somewhere close to 3,000 people who are on parole at present. But the linkages were not there to necessarily move them from there into our program and using the library. So I'd like to ask Dave Wolfsgruber to come forward from the Parole Board to say a few words.
Good morning. With all the distinguished guests on the dais today, I will stick to the 3 minutes, but I want to make it a beneficial 3 minutes for all of you just to give you an idea as to the foundation of this tremendous program that the State Parole Board is thrilled to be a part of. First, I'd be remiss if I didn't recognize Tanya Garcia, who I consider the matriarch of the Library Initiative, in concert with Peggy Cadigan, the Deputy State Librarian, and Bob Cantor, the co-chair of our Monmouth County Task Force, which was the birthplace of the Library Initiative. It's now an incredible venture between the State Parole Board, State Library, the various libraries. We've talked about this for years, and these folks had the intestinal fortitude and the foresight and the thoughtfulness to apply for a grant that's going to fund services, staff, and make the library another hub in our efforts to continue to reduce recidivism. Some of you may not know, New Jersey is a nationwide leader in recidivism reduction. Our numbers consistently come out at the top of the nationwide trends and outcomes as far as returns to state prison for new convictions, returns to state prison for technical parole violations. We have graduated sanctions that started 20 years ago. This is not a new initiative. The State Parole Board all of a sudden just, wished it away, and we had great numbers as far as returning citizens that are not returning to state prison in great numbers. Guess what? There's more ex-offenders in the communities, and guess what? They're not committing new crimes. Guess what? They're not going back to state prison for technical parole violators. Guess what? They're productive citizens and fully immersed in the benefiting the communities to which they've taken from over the years. We have volunteer initiatives throughout the state. We have the Library Initiative is just one tool in our toolbox that's being added to folks that, quite frankly, are already coming to libraries. They're already here. In the summertime, they come to get cool. In the wintertime, they come to get warm. So this just takes it to another level of having, hopefully, social services here, hopefully having family support services, you name it. We're so thrilled to have this initiative that's working in tandem with the communities to which the individuals are returning to, and having even more of an active collaboration with the individuals and the partners in the community and their families as well. So this is just an outgrowth of what's already happening. We don't rest on our laurels. 31% sounds great. I know we can do a lot better. I know collectively we can do a lot better, and we will do a lot better. So I just want to read something from our chairman, Sam Plummer, that he's prepared for today's event. The Fresh Start Reentry program at the Newark Public Library will be an invaluable resource for offenders seeking to positively return to their communities in a welcoming and encouraging setting. Formerly incarcerated individuals can find reentry to be a challenging process by providing educational opportunities, employment assistance, and a variety of social support programs to offenders. The Newark Public Library will help create a strong foundation that people can build upon as they look to gain a foothold in society. We are incredibly proud and look forward to productive, positive, and relationships and outcomes in all 6 libraries, and then we'll take it across the river to Philly and do great things for them too. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Dave. I'd now like to ask Caitlin McGinnis from Senator Booker's office to make a few remarks.
Good morning. Senator Booker wished he could be here today, but he did send a letter that he asked me to read. Everyone hear me? Dear friends, it is a pleasure to send my warmest greetings and congratulations as you gather to celebrate the launch of the Fresh Start program at the Newark Public Library. This program will be an important step towards addressing the many barriers that people face when returning home from incarceration and to disrupting the destructive cycle of recidivism. I want to thank the New Jersey State Library for all your efforts to implement this program throughout our state. As a staunch advocate for criminal justice reform, I was proud to help bring this federal funding to New Jersey. We may not be able to correct all the deep disparities created by a broken criminal justice system, but we have the opportunity to address obstacles by giving people with a criminal record a much-needed fresh start. This program will establish a model for reentry support that can be replicated throughout the nation to help people returning from incarceration successfully reintegrate into our communities. Libraries fill a vital role in our society, and as a member of the Senate Cultural Caucus, I am proud to fight for the resources they need. The Newark Public Library has been an essential cultural anchor for the city of Newark for more than a century, and has always served as a place for members of the public to come together to build and strengthen community bonds. This program will allow the Newark Public Library to further expand the value they are providing to their patrons and to help people thrive. Thank you.
Thank you, Caitlin. Thank you, Senator Booker. I'd now like to call upon Councilwoman LaMonica McIver, Central Ward Councilperson, to make a few remarks.
It's still morning, right? All right. Good morning, everyone. So it's a good day. It's a good day. We need a little bit more claps, a little bit more cheers because it's a good day. This is a good opportunity to be here. This is something great that we are announcing. I first want to just give honor. I know she's been already announced, but I usually don't get ahead of leadership, which she's my leader, which is Council President Mildred Crump, who is here with me. Hopefully she's going to have some words to say as well. But I just want to say that the city of Newark is no stranger to second chances here in the city. Underneath the great leadership of our Mayor Raj J. Baraka, we have been doing lots of work on second chances and fresh starts for our citizens here in the city of Newark, and we continue to do that each and every day. Our deputy mayor, who's present, Rahman Muhammad, knows that because his office does that work daily, but we're excited to welcome a new program here in the city, which is Fresh Start, to our public library to help assist with the work that we're doing. I think the number one key thing I love about the Fresh Start program is the one-on-one social work assistance that will be available to people. I always say we can transition people who are returning to society, but it takes therapy, it takes social work, it takes, mentally transitioning them from where they were to where they're going now, and that is the key to it all. So I'm excited about it. I'm excited about this new initiative, and I know that the city of Newark and all surrounding cities are going to benefit from this. So I thank all of the partners who took part in this. I thank the Newark Library, to our president, the wonderful and beautiful Dr. Wells, who is back there. Thank you so much for allowing us to come here and being an anchor here in the city for this program. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Council President, would you like to say a few remarks? Maybe?
Especially for something as important and relevant to the quality of life here in, actually not just in Newark, but throughout this great country that we call America. I stand before you not as just council president for the great city of Newark. I stand before you to affirm and to reaffirm everybody is entitled to a fresh start. That should have gotten, not because it was my line, but because it was true. Let me recognize my friend who was in the audience. I'd be remiss if I did not acknowledge Rosemary. We've been through a lot And I'm delighted to see her along with many others that I know. I see, I'm not going to start calling names, but you all know that I love you, right? Governor McGreevey, Deputy Mayor Rahman Mohammed, and to the greatest Central Ward councilwoman ever in the history of the city of Newark, the Honorable LaMonica McIver. Yes, give it up for her. I need to tell you the opportunity to work with her has been one of the best things, as that song says, that ever happened to me. Certainly to the representatives from the governor's office. I greet you because some of you in this room may not know, and those with whom I worked personally one-on-one. I was a board member of Integrity, and I chaired Integrity's board for 10 years before I was elected. I realized then, and I acknowledge even today, everybody, as I said earlier, deserves a fresh start. And so all of you have come together, and what better place than the library, where learning and relearning and relearning takes place. In addition to the services, there are books. I'm a reader. I probably read at least one book every a couple of weeks. And it's so important. A personal narrative, and then I shall take my seat, as to why I am so committed to this project. I will be hands-on. You will be able to call me. He has my cell number. But you will be able to call me, and I will respond. Prior to getting married, and I share this with you because I am not ashamed or embarrassed, but it helped shape my mindset about what a fresh start can do. As an old maid aunt, I became a mother. Unfortunately, my brother and my sister-in-law were very busy fighting with one another, and it occupied all of their time, their mind, their resources, and they were not able to give their two sons what was needed for them to grow up in a very bougie, and I say this seriously, black family that had never had any contact or anything with drugs. Both my nephews became drug addicted. I warned my family that was taking place, but they, as I said, they were too busy. My eldest nephew was shot and killed robbing a bank to support his habit. My youngest nephew became so addicted that he lost touch with the reality of life and died as a result of a brutal beating by a local gang that he owed money to. Why do I tell you this story? It's real. And I hope that you all are here for the right reason, to turn an upside down world right side up. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Council President. I got myself updated as to the status of criminal justice reform and the launch of our program by reading a report by the New Jersey Reentry Services Commission entitled Barriers, Best Practices, and Action Items for Improving Reentry Services. Two of the co-chairs of this commission were our own Assemblyperson, Assemblywoman Eliana Pintor-Marin, who represents a portion of Newark, and Jim McGreevey, former governor. Jim McGreevey has been involved intimately with this area of criminal justice reform, reentry, and services throughout the state for quite a while. So we'd like him to come forward and give us a few remarks as we launch into our new Fresh Start program. Governor McGreevey.
Well, it's a great pleasure to be here. I'm just glad we followed protocol, that I followed the Queen of Newark, the Right Honorable Mildred Crump, and I'd just like to reemphasize that the Councilwoman has Irish blood in her, so lift her up as we approach St. Patrick's Day. Just as an aside, my daughter was doing a report on Rosa Parks, and she found out that her maiden name was Macaulay. So I mean, I want to thank all of our partners. I want to thank Rahman Mohammed, the deputy mayor, with whom we work very closely with on issues of employment, job training, and I'm here with Jaron Crawford. Jaron leads our Newark office. Jenny Pena leads our Bergen County office. And Tasha Hogan came all the way up from New Brunswick. She leads our Middlesex office. And I also wanted to thank David and the New Jersey State Parole Board, recognizing our state library system. Libraries are critical. I believe they're the cornerstone of thinking in our communities, and I can't say thank you enough for libraries venturing into this process. As we heard and as David shared, New Jersey is moving in the right direction. I want to thank our partners in parole and corrections and the county jail, as well as the great mayor of the city of Newark, Raz Baraka. I nearly said Rahman Mohammed. I would have gotten really in trouble. But I just want to say something. I just want to talk about two things we're doing with Essex and Newark. I believe we have one of the most innovative partnerships, I would argue, not only in New Jersey, but in the country. People come out of Essex County Jail. They come through our program at New Jersey Reentry at 32 Prince Street. And then from there, they go and work at DPW, Department of Public Works, for 6 months. And the advantage of this partnership is, and the advantage of Fresh Start, is our facility at 32 Prince Street at the Greater Newark Conservancy, where we work with the faith-based community, we work with the great city of Newark, with the county, is also providing many of the services that Fresh Start will provide. But in addition, we provide legal services in terms of addressing bench warrants, child support, et cetera, and helping people get their ID. And so as you process that ID, we'll be able to provide legal support and the backup. And I've had the pleasure of speaking to some of your folks from the State Library. But in addition, we connect people to medication-assisted treatment, which is so important because between 70, and as the Institute of Social Justice knows, so many of our clients suffer from addiction, whether they be heroin, fentanyl, cocaine, et cetera. So we connect people to MAT, to best practices to addiction, and we connect people to a federally qualified health center. Upwards of 37% of our clients have hepatitis B or hepatitis C, as well as another 40% have co-occurring disorders in terms of mental health and depression. The old approach was get somebody a job, pray, and good luck. And that, candidly, doesn't work. We need to understand that people need to be engaged with the support of parole or max outs. They need to have healthy housing. They need to be in addiction treatment. You tell Ron Rice I said all the things he says. Amen. I mean, I want to check that box. But it's also, which is critically important, not only physical medical health, but also mental health care. And we need to understand, mental health doesn't mean that you're a pariah. It doesn't necessarily imply acute schizophrenia. Many of our clients suffer from trauma. Trauma from their upbringing, trauma from the streets, trauma from prison. And in best practices today, in terms of the United States Department of Justice, Bureau of Justice Assistance, underscores the impact of trauma. Part of reversing trauma is the quietness, the stillness, and the serenity of a library. You know, when I walked in just now and I saw Rock and I was on the phone, I instinctively knew to shut off the phone. I'm in the library. Libraries are places of peace. I know I didn't do it as quickly as I should have. Libraries are places of peace. They're places of serenity. So I am just so excited among all the partners here, and I should recognize everybody, but if Mildred Crump didn't recognize you, I don't have to. But I just want to say thank you because, as David said, New Jersey's done some really good things in terms of addiction treatment, lowering the rate of recidivism, but we still have the worst racial disparity in the country. I can walk into any state prison and disproportionately see persons of color. So when we're here at the City of Newark Public Library with the support of our legislators, our elected officials, the community, this is something good. And God willing, it'll allow persons to have another place in the community where the stillness and the peace of the library will help them heal their trauma as they seek to regain productive citizenship, not only for themselves, but for the community. Thank you.
Thank you, Governor McGreevey. I'd now like to ask Leslie Kahn, our project leader here at the Newark Public Library, to introduce Ronald Pierce, our keynote speaker.
And again, I want to thank my colleague, Jessica Campbell from our social work program, also Paula Barada, head of branches, and Mabel Williams, the head of the branch right now, Vailsburg branch, which is going to be the second site offering this program. Pitter patter. I'm not used to being around such dignitaries, so it's my great honor to see you all here. Also, of course, we consider everybody a VIP, so our reentry people and their families are always considered extremely important. And any day, I believe that 1 out of 3 of my visitors, I'm going to recognize you too, is somebody who has the experience of incarceration. Also, I want to recognize from the State Library, Nicole Warren, who will be working both here and especially at the Vailsburg branch, a social worker. One reason I love working at the Newark Public Library is that I consider it a truth and beauty laboratory, a place where I get to talk with people about ideas, especially ideas that solve problems. The other day before yesterday, someone with experiences with prisons was telling me about a well-known author, you may guess who this is, who writes a lot about power and seduction. And in his case, this is about power over others, how inequities like between men and women aren't only unjust, but also make the person who's dominating the other person kind of lonely and a relationship very unsatisfying. I see the Fresh Start program as one that will make everybody happier, that not only will it reduce recidivism or reduce recidivism, but it will also make families stronger, and those stronger families then will not have to experience the traumatic experiences of incarceration. This then related what we were talking about with male-female inequities to that reality in our society. he mentioned a man named Ron Pierce from the New Jersey Institute for Social Justice, who has spoken of how, while many Americans talk about incarcerated people paying a debt to society, they forget, we forget, how all of us owe our nation our social engagement. What a pleasure then to celebrate the launch of the Fresh Start Initiative and to introduce our keynote speaker, Ron Pierce. As someone who spent decades in prison, he hasn't forgotten those still inside, and he mentors them and others who have been released. He's rightly proud to own a pen from Governor Phil Murphy's signing of the Voting Rights Bill to restore the right to vote to approximately 83,000 people on parole and probation. I got that figure from Mr. Pierce himself. If a person can exercise this right, others, including those running for office, are more likely to listen to you. Ron Pierce has also fought against prison gerrymandering, a whole other subject. Mr. Pierce is the author of 2 chapters of American Prisons and Jails, an encyclopedia of controversies and trends, and this morning, he will speak about the topics of his 2 chapters, prisonization and leaving prison. I give you Ron Pierce.
Good morning. First of all, let me just say that this is an historic library, and it's continuing to serve its mission with this innovative program, and I'm very, very proud to be part of the discussion about this program. Now, first, I would like to say what is returning or reentry, or as Ross Baraka has mentioned, and I agree with, for many citizens, what is entering the system for the first time. When you re-enter society, where are you coming from if you're not already in part of the society? Prison is a different society. It's made up of authoritarian rule, whereas general society is a free democratic republic. And that's by design. It's meant to be that way, and I'm not here to critique that system, just to say that that is what people are reentering from. That is why it is a process that takes time to grow and allow people into society. Prisonization, which is the acclimation of people going to prison, is a process of acclimating to the prison environment, to understanding the rules and regulations. And when I say that it's an authoritarian organization, one of the rules, and this is probably one of the most more extreme rules, is you must follow all rules and all orders from any member of the authoritarian system. You must follow all orders of the staff, even if those orders are illegal, unless, and this is the only caveat, unless it will create an imminent danger, an imminent harm to your body. So you must follow all rules and regulations, whereas in American society, if somebody told you to run in front of a bullet, you just tell them, "Are you nuts?" You know. So this is the rules that you are guaranteed. You don't have any rights to privacy. You don't have any right. And for security purposes, I'm not saying that anything's wrong with this. This is just the way it is. So you develop this concept that all authority figures are to be leery of. And that's just, and the longer you stay in prison, the more your concept gets reinforced. So when you come home, your mindset is still that authority figures you're a little leery of. Now, I had some fantastic parole officers, and I applaud them because they took time with me, and I guess they understood after 30 years in prison, when I was coming out, I was a little leery about trusting what they were saying I should do. Even though they were there to help, my mind was saying they were there to find a way to bring me back to prison. That's just the mindset. That's a perception that you have to get beyond. But it is a perception. It's a real perception. So as you acclimate back into society and you start to understand these, you start to see differences. But prison is different than society. But also, while you're in prison, right, you're also have this mindset that when you come home, everything is stuck in time. So you don't understand, like the internet didn't exist when I went to prison, and it was everything I needed to do to go through college. You know, I had to understand it, but I didn't understand it. I didn't know what it was, but I had the Mountain View community from the New Jersey STEP program to show me what it was and to help me understand it. And I'll give you a perfect for instance of the mindset. When I came out, the first thing I had to do was register for classes at Rutgers Newark. All right, and I was still in a halfway back program in Logan Hall. So I came out, and Regina Diamond Rodriguez was the counselor for the MJ STEP program, and she was taking me to go register. And in the meantime, 2 squirrels scrambled around and then ran up a tree. So I told her, I said, wow, look, 2 squirrels fighting, because I haven't seen squirrels for a long time. And she said, no, they're not fighting, they're just playing. That's because the perception in my mind was everything is confrontational. But that wasn't the reality, that was just the perception. So please be mindful that reentry is a process. And it is the reason that recidivism goes down as the years pass, as people start to reacclimate and start to see this. But in the meantime, reentry is going down because people are better understanding, and because programs are starting to realize that we need more than, as the governor said, a job and a prayer. We need more understanding. We need more saying, okay, what do we need to do to have this transition period more smooth? And the public library Fresh Start program is perhaps one of the more innovative ideas, because one of the only safe spaces in prison is the library. I worked as a paralegal in the library for many years while I was in Trenton. And even after I went to Rahway and I began working with the recreation department as the head clerk, I still saw the library as a sanctity, as a place where I could go, I could read. It was quiet. It was a place where you can get your mind just to get out of prison for a while. So being able to transition from one safe space to another safe space makes it more smooth of a transition. And the fact that they're working with the parole board and the parole board can guide them to this is an amazing thing, because not only will it create an understanding of a safe place to a safe place, but it will also create a quicker understanding that the parole officers are there to help and guide you to stay home and to be productive citizens. The mindset of they're there to find a reason to send me back will not take hold as tightly as it once did. And I say that because when I came home, in my head, I knew the parole officer, because he was so understanding, and then later on my female parole officer was just as understanding. I knew in my head that they're there to help me. But the reacclimation hadn't taken place, so everything was like, okay, they said to do this, and I have to do this, but or I'm going back to prison. Not I have to do this because this will help me. And the parole officer, in looking at everything, has decided that, hey, if you do this, you'll be benefiting. But you don't see that. You don't feel that in your heart. You just feel scared they're going to send you back because the recidivism rate is real. The recidivism rate is scary, and it's scary for both those that are coming home as well as those that are worried that when they come home, they're going to reoffend. So I applaud this initiative. I am so grateful for it, and I know it will work. And all I ask is that you continue to make it grow, because the social workers need to understand, the people coming home need to understand there's social workers here that can help guide you and help you to understand. And I thank you for this program, for this opportunity to speak. Thank you.
Thank you, Ron, for that inspiring speech from a person who has reentry and done well for our society. I'd be happy to see if there are any questions now that we could answer, and bring some of our staff over if there are any questions.
I do have a question. When is the first day for the program to begin?
The program has already started. We announced it in a news release when we started doing it.
How are we promoting it?
I did news releases. We got in the paper. We were on the radio. We were on television. We mentioned it in numerous places. Do you want to come over, Leslie?
Yes.
Just doing handouts here about it. We have partnered with a couple of halfway houses also, and we had 5 classes in our computer room to help people with both the sort of technological, but even more the mental health parts of thinking about job hunting and reentry in general. We worked with the New Jersey Association for Mental Health, or Mental Health Association of New Jersey, rather. Every day, though, as I mentioned, we are helping people. Jessica had to leave, but fully a third or more of her clients are people whose lives have been touched by what some people call the criminal justice system.
So we waited until we got the word out more and things had started before we did our big public announcement, because when we were starting up, nobody really knew, so we were struggling to get the word out. So we waited until we got going.
So really quickly, and then I got to head out to another event. I think what Council President is basically asking is, how do residents, especially a lot of people that we come in contact with every day, find out about this program? We have people who, they come sometimes from the halfway house, they come straight from out of prison, and they're at our desk, they're at our reentry office here in the city of Newark with Deputy Mayor Rahman Muhammad, and they're trying to find programs which we try to assist them. But I think helping promote this program, we can help you with that. And if you can send us some documents, maybe some flyers or some things that we can put into our office. Me electronically and hard copy, we can do that. But then also too, I would recommend to all of the partners who are involved to host some type of fair or informational session for those who may be interested in coming to find out about the program, and how do they engage and sign up for it.
Sure.
Hi, Peggy Catt again from the New Jersey State Library. Two of the things we're asking each library to do in conjunction with the social worker is to create, number one, a community advisory board made up of all the not-for-profits, churches, organizations, have them meet here at the library maybe once a month to help disseminate information about the program. And number two, each library will create a community advisory board made up of returning citizens, because we think word of mouth is going to be one of the biggest and best ways to get the information out. We do have information posted at the State Library, www.njstatelib.org/fresh start. But we'll be sending, I can send Tom or Leslie electronic links and all our information, which we'll be happy to share with everyone here.
We have a trifold brochure, which we would get in multiple copies and distribute out to the various spots that you're talking about. So we can do that for sure. Okay, in that case then, I'd like to conclude by thanking you for joining us for this launch and public announcement, and please keep fighting in the bigger picture for criminal justice reform in the country and in the state, and please help yourself to some food and drink at the back. Thank you for attending.